record. Something gets up on your screen usually that you need to click either OK or got it or something, and it gets out of your way. And then we're ready to go. And I will spotlight, so that will make me the main screen for you. And I also like to mute everybody so that there's no excess noise. Okay, and then this is the setup. So oftentimes I tell people make this setup and then they decide to make their own setup, and that's fine also, as long as you're able to make your setup do what my setup can do. But this is the ideal. It allows for just the most easy flow. So you've got one chair here with the back of the chair facing in, second chair here so that when we change sides, we'll be over here doing exercises and movements, and then we change so that we've got this side. So you create this little framework here. It's like parallel bars or some sort of support frame. And then you have your sitting chair behind that. So there's this playroom space in front of you. So we need to play in space. So now you're sitting in your chair. Scoot to the front edge of your chair, because when we're sitting in the back edge of our chair, we're usually letting the chair do all of the support beam work for the central pillar of the body. And if we are sitting like this, using the chair for our central pillar, and then we stand up, well, now we've got two things to deal with. We haven't cultivated our central pillar, and now we're dealing with walking, moving, and so on. So that's why, you know, people that are having trouble with standing balance work and maybe stamina of the legs, and you can only stand for a little while, a very important practice is being on a chair that's of the right height. So you can see here, if I take my chair down and I'm sitting like too low, my pelvis is spilling this way, and then I'm straining just to try to keep myself upright. So you want the chair at least high enough that it's at the level of the knees, right? You want that at least. So, and then we're sitting at the edge so that we are getting this buttock bone, what they call the sits bones, or the ischial tuberosities is the Latin name, the anatomical name. You find those 2 points and plug them into the chair. Then you've got your legs going out, creating sort of a secondary support, but the chair is doing the main line to the ground. Hands on your thighs, and find your zhongjung, or central upright. So if I were in your shoes and having problems with back pain when I'm standing, or balance when I'm standing, and I'm not getting enough walking around, but I'm also just not able to, I would like to think that I would remember this practice and spend a good amount of time, multiple times a day, of going, oh yeah, let me train that zhongjung, let me train that central pillar. 5 minutes of sitting and breathing, because not only are you training central upright, central pillar, deep core, what they call the vertical core. Usually when we think of core, we think six-pack muscles, which is sort of part of it, but actually it's not even the beginning. It's like the tip of the iceberg. The deep muscles along your spinal column, the layers of back muscles, shoulder, there's just layers wrapping around this torso that are all kinked and off and overdeveloped and underdeveloped. And so we want to even all of that out to give us our vertical pillar core. So sitting upright requires some work, so we're doing it, and There you have it, right? That's work in and of itself. Now, when we add to that breathing, we do it again, and we do it again, and we do it again. Breathe, breathe, breathe. So you keep breathing, even if I'm yapping, you just. So now we're bringing online somewhere around 26 different muscles involved in breathing. Many of those double duty, they double duty as breath muscles, respiratory muscles, and postural muscles. And the only way often to get them to do their postural work is to make sure they're doing their breathing work, right? So as your breath shrinks and becomes sort of shallow and mediocre, which is what happens with aging in general unless you do something about it, if that breath is weakening, your posture is also collapsing and weakening. So we're trying to invert that. That's the Taoist practice. We don't have to think about that in the first early chapters of our life, but in the later chapters with age and illness and so on and so forth, we have to grab the bull by the horns and invert that trend that's happening to us. And so one of the most powerful ways to do that is to fill up, stretch open from the inside, hold that full like a full balloon, and then soften. That's key. When you exhale, soften. Don't push the breath out. Melt it out. Soften it out all the way to empty. And then when you're ready, big, full, expansive, holding full. Maybe you even find you can pull a little more, a little more breath. And then melting all those deep spaces all the way to empty. And we're going to do this more times. You got to get better at this. I do this all the time. I do it when I'm driving. I do it when I'm sitting. I do it when I'm walking. So I'm always attending to this important chassis, this important activity of life, which is expand, soften, and consolidate, expand, trying to make sure I don't let it atrophy over time. Couple more. Now, as we've talked about, Zhong is central upright. But what we're doing with this breathing, especially on the soft exhale, is what's called Chun-Wan, which is as you exhale, you're releasing that which can be released and letting it settle down through the chair, through your feet to the floor as your means of finding stability. So instead of holding myself to stay upright, I'm letting go of myself to find this gravity going down, and what's left is buoyancy, called Qingling, buoyant, agile, levity, nimbleness, spaciousness, rather than compressed and heavy and awkward, which, right, this is like when we're older, what do you see? I teach at the lake park, and you just see people on walkers going like this, right? And what they're lacking is, this, right? And my teacher is in his 70s, and he is essentially water. It's the wildest thing to see. He's got a beard down here. He looks like an older person, and he's the most lithe, nimble individual I know. Beyond lithe, like almost metaphysically weird in how he can move. So time doesn't demand that we become stuck. So we got to do something about it. So these are the things we need to do. And the question is, are you doing them multiple times a day to try to invert that trend? So that's the only, the way is there, but are you doing it? That's the difference, right? So last couple of breaths here, we're doing Zhong, settling down, Chun 1, feeling a little more Ching Ling, a little lighter, a little nimbler. Now we do some overt movements that help take us further in that direction. Slide your hands back, elbows back, shoulder blades back, lift your chest, lift your chin, arch your back. So now we're going all the way into this shape. And then we go into the opposite shape. Slide the hands forward, past your knees, and look at this shape here. Hollowing, rounding, dropping the head. Going into almost like the worst quote-unquote posture you could imagine. Not that you're hurting yourself, but just that you're so slouched. But the body can make this shape and then go the other way. So what's important is that from a Taoist point of view, the healthy body is the one that goes all the way to one end of the spectrum of movement or range, and then all the way to the other spectrum of that range, unimpeded. So what you're running into, what you're feeling in your body, is the impediment. Now, Mike, watch me, please. What you just did, you did a different exercise. You folded at your hips, right? Notice that I do not fold at my hips. I do something, but I'm not folding at my hips. In fact, my hips are going that way. They're falling backwards, but my chest is going backwards. So do you see this? And your arms, look what my arms are doing. They're going forward. So arms are straight, chest is hollow, head is down. And then here, I'm going up and arch that way. So I'm getting movement through all 24 vertebrae, creating these shapes. Let's do 3 more and add the breath. Inhale as you slide hands back, lift chest. So this is all with an in-breath. You hold, and then you exhale. All the way out. Empty. Drop. And then inhale. Back, arch, and then exhale. Round. And then in. And then exhale. So it's all about change. It's all about not being stuck, right? Look at my arms. They go all the way to completely straight, completely locked as I'm hollowing and rounding. And then they come all the way back to this bent position, and the shoulder blades are back. So it's this moving through the range that is the medicine of these practices. Now, settle back to the middle. Left hand forward. It's my right hand, but I'm saying left. For your left, so on your mirror, this hand goes back, right? Turn to your right. And then come back through middle and turn to your left. And then back through middle and turn. And back through middle, turn. And and middle. So same idea, right? The idea is why I love Taoist practice. The idea is simple. The execution of it has to be precise and thorough, and it requires our attention, but it's not rocket science. It's simple. Total unimpeded movement through the range that is available. Not forcing it and hurting yourself, but also not just going, okay, here's my movement, this is my twist. If this is all I do, then it's just going to shrink over time to where I no longer can twist. That's what happens with aging and then you add Parkinson's or MS or some other issue to that, and it just goes, and it just narrows completely. So we're battling that with these practices. Hang the arms alongside you. This one really important because a lot of times people are less, a lot of people I'm working with, they sit like this, let's say, and they think this is the middle. And you would look at them and you say, well, get over there, right? But they're terrified of going over to that side. So then you try to get them to go and they're fighting, but they're falling this way. So this act of trying to make sure you calibrate your brain, your tissue, your joints, your proprioception, your ability to sense where you are in the room, in relationship to the room, that you're seeing like, okay, here is middle. Middle stays kind of there, but I can lean like a palm tree in a storm all the way this way, and then all the way this way, and not fall, right? It's that fear that makes us walk around like in a narrow hallway, right? Versus, oh, wait, let me relax, let me test this. And so once again, why are we in our chair doing this when we're in a class about walking and balance and gait? Because here you have a little more safety. You have a little more ability to flirt with danger, right? Unlikely that you're going to fall out of your chair. You really have to go for it, right? And back to center. So again, if all you did each day, multiple times a day, was sit and breathe to open those spaces, and then do this exercise, and this exercise, and just calibrate your middle, calibrate zhong, find that looseness, find that groundedness, and then go about your day. But you do it regularly, right? And then you can do that in 5-7 minutes. So again, the reason I push this is just because that's the only way anything works, is that regular attendance to it. Drop your arms alongside you. Another very important one. I would say this is equally as important. Tendency for closing in on our shoulders, right? You see how I can do that? Closing. Most people are stuck like this all the time. And so then they're walking around and it's clumsy versus up, down, up, down, right? So notice what's moving. My scapula, up, down, up, down. Now notice scapula, back, neutral, scapula apart. Look where my shoulders go. They go around in front. Neutral, back with the scapula. Notice how this area opens. Neutral, closes. Neutral, opens. Neutral. Now, scapula forward and up. They stay up as we go back and down. And then forward with the scapula. So once again, notice if when I said forward, you did this, that is not it. This. It's got to be the shoulders. Then up, then back, then down, then under, forward, up, back, down. In the beginning, this is just a brain challenge among other issues. But eventually you can be practicing it and getting all that schwen, that flow. Now reverse, we go back, then up, forward, then down, back, then up, forward, then down, back, up, neutral. Bend your elbows, elbows out and up, down, in, down, out, and up, down, in. Now, elbows back, right? Then down, then forward, then up. And then forward, then down and back. Notice how, these are back. I didn't drop my hand down, back. Down, forward, up. Forward, down, back. And down, forward, up. Out. One above, one below. Hug your own body. Elbows out. Switch. Hug your own body. Out. Switch. Cross. Out. Switch. Cross. In. Out. Down. Release. Loose. Okay, so we've emptied this space to allow Chunwan, settling. Now, bring this knee up, heel draws in, push away, draw it in, down, this leg, load, push, load, down. So let's say you've been sitting for a while, and then you're like, oh, I got to get up, go to the bathroom or something, but you feel kind of stuck and stiff. This is a good one to do, to say, okay, let me get these legs without weight bearing, so I'm not pushing against anything. I'm just opening up the tissues and joints to say, okay, this shape, this shape, this shape, right? That's very important because the leg has to function like a spring or like an accordion when it's time to stand up. So that gets it warmed up, opened up. Now the foot as well, the foot might be kind of stuck. We want to go point, flex, so that the ankle isn't just this bound space, but that it's a pivot. It's an adaptable pivot. And now the tilt of the foot in, tilt out. It's called inversion, eversion. And then the circle, in, around, and out. Reverse, out, around, and in. And down. Other foot, point, flex. Invert, evert, tilt, tilt. Circle. And reverse circle. And down. Scoot to the front edge of your chair. Very important one for the legs as well. Step feet wider. We've got hip joints, and they're not just, so the knee joint is a hinge. It really only does this, right? But the hip rotates. Open, close. Open. So look at how wide the knees go with the toes. Opening here, closing here. Open, close. One more. Now, Tai Chi, come back to neutral. Tai Chi is called an internal martial art versus an external martial art. Why does that matter to us here, right? Because we're not doing martial arts. We're trying to learn how to move better and walk. But understanding that we've just opened up interior space inside this groin hip area, and we're going to use that space to be able to move, right? So the last one we'll do before we stand up, hands on your legs, from this space that we just opened or looked at, same space, fold forward. And then sit vertical. And then lean back. So internal cultivation, we're understanding, oh yeah, I've got to create interior real estate that as I'm aging, if I don't do something about it, it's closing, it's compressing, it's becoming either collapsed through weakness or jammed and impeded through tightness. Either way, same bad result. So we're cultivating the opposite of that. Openness, spaciousness, sort of a plump, juicy, liquid open space there. Now, use that to stand up. So we're going to slide the feet back a little, hinge from those same hips, arms and shoulders are loose. We fold and then pour the weight out and let that chun one, or the weight going down, gravity going down, so that what's left up here is light, loose, relaxed. And then from the same hip space, you hinge, right? Notice I did not bend my knees yet. What did I do? I also didn't do this. I didn't lean forward and put strain on my back. I disappeared the pelvis back a little bit that way. And naturally this happened, but I kept my balance, kept my center, and then use that softness in the body to fold and find your chair and then sit back. So standing up, sitting down is just such a good practice, but not in the way that a lot of people think of it. They think of it as like strong. I'm going to have such strong, muscle-bound legs. The Tai Chi approach is saying, look, that doesn't last you into your 90s, 100s, and beyond. And it's just not the most skillful way to move. So just relax and find this ease, this ability to just flow. And notice my arms. When I come up, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing this. What are they doing? They're just hanging. And they're hanging so that when I go like this, they're still hanging. They're loose. They're loose, right? And then when they're loose like that, we'll do one more, because a lot of people want to make sure the chair is there, right? When you go to sit, you're like, I want to make sure the chair is there. So just watch how I do this. If I go down here and I'm still not committed to the chair, and then I can go like that. So try that. Sink down here and go, okay, and you could even look behind you. If you're stable and you're relaxed enough, you can just kind of peek back there. But you could just reach your hand back and maybe the chair's too far away and you go, okay, get over here, and then you sit, right? But that looseness of the arms is very key. And we stand all the way. Let's just stay standing. Now I'm going to move my chair. You don't move your chair. Keep your chair where it is, please. Don't move your sitting chair. Do not move it. A lot of times I say that and then I see people move their chair. Don't move it. So we're standing. You have your spot on the right. Move closer to this one and be able to touch it if you need it. But now don't touch it if possible. Now, if you look at my body, can you tell where my body weight is? It's more in one leg than in the other. And my guess is you can see that this is the leg I'm putting my weight in. This is the leg that has less weight. But notice I did not pick my feet up off the ground. Right? And then when I change the weight over to this leg, I'm not yanking my foot up off the ground. So find, like I said, internal martial art. Find the internal space where I'm not changing feet on ground. My feet are equally touching the earth whole time, but I'm changing something. And what I'm changing is what they call in Tai Chi, separate yin and yang, separate full and empty. Most of the time when people walk, they go maybe 70 or 80%, but they keep 20% here. And then they go to take a step and it's clumsy, it's heavy. as opposed to getting 100% and 0. And this 0 leg is totally dangerous martial art wise and totally functional moving around your life, stepping on a stair, stepping backwards, sideways, forwards, wherever you gotta go, right? And then same thing here. So from this middle pivot in the belly, low back, groin area, try to just find this real estate, this interior real estate. And the other piece to this is really important, is that your legs are not built to be stilts. You know what a stilt is, right? It's just a big beam connecting to the ground. The legs, people use their legs like stilts, but they're not built to be that way. They're built to be like a bed spring, right? So now when you go over to one leg, see if you can feel that give, that receive, I guess you could say. The receiving, kind of like how a spring receives you when you sit in a chair or sit on a bed, right? Feel that receiving quality of the leg. That soft, receptive quality is the Tai Chi function of the leg. So once again, simple, super simple exercise, super safe exercise, but really right to the point. It's essential that you find this before you try to do any other fancy maneuver. Now, this is the other piece of this. We're going to do it just a little bit more. Let's say you're out in the wild, out in the world walking, and you're at a stoplight and you're waiting. A lot of times when people wait, they go to double weighting in their body and they lock the knees and they grab on and they hold. And then when it's time to walk, you're all stuck and frozen, especially with Parkinson's, then it becomes like, right? So when you're out in the wild and you're at the supermarket or you're at a stoplight, just kind of be casually doing this. So now I'm hanging out here, maybe I spend 10 seconds just in this leg where this one's empty. And if the stoplight were to change, I'd be ready to go, walk, right? So don't let yourself really ever be double weighted, locked, and held. Be doing Tai Chi all the time, keeping a separation of full and empty, and keeping this aliveness, this flow happening in your body, right? And it doesn't look as weird as it might feel when you're in public and you're just kind of changing your position. All right, now put your weight in your left leg. You got your chair here. Now I'm gonna put this foot out in front. So this is my left leg, but I'm gonna say right leg for you because if you're mirroring me, right? Chair, leg. Now I'm gonna turn a little sideways so you can see as we shift into this front leg, we're moving what direction, right? We're moving forward in space, but the saying in Tai Chi, now we're moving backwards, is the primary direction is down. So I don't have to think forward or think back or try to go forward or try to go back. That just gets me over my skis. All I do is just go, down into this spring-loaded leg, and then down into this spring-loaded leg. Just easy. Easy. Now remember 100-0. So a lot of times people are too afraid to actually commit so that this foot is empty and this is full. And the same thing here, we're sort of stuck halfway between instead of going, 100 and, now use the chair for safety, but let's test it. Lift, right? Some of you might even try no hand, lift, put the heel down, shift. Okay, now this is the other test. You might think this is 0, but until you do this and hold it there, you don't actually know what 100-0 feels like. So that's the importance of this one here, is that I can think I'm doing it, but until I try to lightly float this leg up and hold it for a second, I don't actually get the sensation that we're looking for. So a lot of it's the brain calibrating to going, okay, that's what that feels like. That's 100, that's 0, got it. And then changing so that, oh, 100 is now here, 0 is here. Unimpeded flow, unimpeded change. All the while, Zhong, central upright. Chun 1, relaxing down to the earth. Now let's add this challenge, up. All right, just hold that for a moment. Notice if you're, or, right, see how loose it can be, right? And I'm only kind of loose compared to my teacher, but already you can see, wow, that looks kind of easy and light, right? And then shift. Bring this leg forward and let's hold that there just a little bit. Same thing. First, when we get up here, we start grabbing and holding everything. But then, oh, we realize, actually, if I open up that space inside, everything's lighter, everything's easier. And then let's do that twice more with the flow of it. So down and up. Release. Shift. Forward and up. Back. Shift. Just notice the vertical. The vertical's there the whole time, but not because I'm holding it, because I'm relaxed, and then the vertical's just there. Switching sides. Step over. Other chair. Put the weight in your right leg. Left foot in front. So this first level is just a great opportunity to just feel casual, easy, shift, and shift. And just remember, primary direction is, and it's not a pushing down, it's a releasing. It's a releasing of what you're holding, but you didn't know you were holding. It's like, oh, leg up. And then what's left, at first it feels a little, when we start letting go of all that tension, it does feel less stable at first. It feels like, whoa, there's like sort of shakiness there because you haven't settled into that quality of soft, supple. But as you do these practices more, you start to rely on like, oh, and then tension starts to feel sort of claustrophobic. You start to go, whoa, relax, space. Level 2, hand on chair for extra safety, or some of you have been doing it a while, you try it, no chair. Shift. You let all the weight go down, knee bend. Let all the weight go down. Level 3, chair for sure on this one. Let's lift and hold. Notice, how's your Zhong looking? Can you relax, or are you using your leg like a stilt? Can you loosen? And then set this foot down and shift. And then bring this back leg forward and up. And let's just hold. Just hold. Notice if you're leaning like crazy on your chair, your Zhong probably is not in place. Find Zhong. And then reach the toe back. And then shift. And now the weight going down, knee coming up. Down. Shift. So this idea of unimpeded movement through the designed range of motion of the body. And if you cultivate it, it just gets better and better and better and looser and more open. Okay, so now we're going to do lateral movement. So once again, don't you change anything. If you set your chairs up like I told you to at the beginning, then everything's built around that. So you don't have to change anything. Move over to the left side of your space. And actually, before we do lateral movement, we're just going to walk across the room. So turn. So now we've got this runway out in front, and you've got your chairs to your left. for safety. Now, put the weight in your right leg, left foot in front. And we just go shift. Now here, step. Shift. Now, notice the ideal would be 100% in one leg. The stepping foot, you step it with 0, and you keep 0 in it as you put it in front. Because the tendency is the body's stuck together, so as the foot goes forward, we get pulled along for the ride. That's where falling happens. If I go to step forward and I catch my toe on the curb and I've already committed my body, well, there goes the body, right? But if I'm already safe here and I go to move and I clip something, the stair or a curb or something, but I haven't committed it, the foot's light. It usually just kind of clips over it and steps, and maybe you feel a little unstable for a second, but you don't go bam, right down on your face. So shift into that foot. Same thing. Step without shifting. Shift without stepping. Step without shifting. Notice that you're shifting, because I'm seeing some of you out there, you're shifting 7% or 12% of your weight. Can you shift 0%? Right? Can you actually commit 100 one way, and when you step, nothing changes? Now we're going to go backwards, very carefully, of course. Foot goes back, toe touches, shift back. So now you've established your weight in a full leg. The empty foot is the one that can step. Find the floor behind you, shift. Then step the foot behind you, shift. And remember, when we shift, the weight goes where? Down. It stays down through that leg as you step an empty foot, and then shift. Step, shift. And then we go forward, shift, and then step. Eventually, once you separate something, you can blend it back together and make it smooth. But first, we're going to sort of break up walking into these two events. Shift without stepping, step without shifting, shift without stepping, step without shifting. And then eventually you can feel those events and have them just blend, where you're just going shift, step, shift, step, shift. And that's where it starts to get natural and fluid and all of that. But if you never separate it, chances are it's stuck together. Clumsy. Clumsy versus agile. Once you separate them and find that looseness and that agility, then you can add, you can put more coal in the engine of the train and go, right? But if you don't feel this sense of separate yin and yang, stay loose, empty up top, full down below, if you don't find those qualities and then you try to add power or force or speed, that's where problems come in. Now, come all the way to this side, left side of your space. Face forward. The weight goes into your left leg. Step your right foot out and back in. Now, just watch my body closely. Notice that when I step out, a couple different things are happening. Let me turn and face forward. When I step this leg out, if you can see it, my weight has to stay down through this leg, and this leg that I'm stepping out doesn't turn. So that's what a lot of people do when they go do their lateral walk practice, is they reach the foot out like this and then fall into it, right? Or they go and let the body go with it. So the feet force them to somewhat stay parallel. And then when you step out, try to get this heel down, right? You can see when I step out, my heel is touching the ground, but there's no weight in it, right? Where's my body weight? It's transferring down through this leg, right? So out and in, while getting the heel to touch, heel to touch. This forces something to happen that we want, which is this quad, this groin to open, close, open. Most people just have closed quad, and they're just closed all the time, and they'll be closed till the day they die. Versus we cultivate the space. Now, put this leg out, leave it there. This quad is open. Now, shift and feel how this quad closes. Do not let this heel come up off the ground. Keep that heel down so that the only way you can get over here is by this quad or groin area opening. Now go back, close this quad, open this one. And then go closing, opening. The feet stay down. Closing, opening, closing, opening. Remember that internal martial art idea, that internal real estate idea. So actually we're finding interior space from which to execute power, right? And so that's where all the martial art movement happens too. All this intricate spiraling and tipping and tilting and moving can happen. But if that's all advanced stuff, you'd hurt yourself trying to do it now. But first get this quality of opening and closing. Now bring this leg that's now empty in, keep it empty, out, heel touching the ground, in, out, in, out, in, out. And then very importantly, in, keep your feet as close together as they can get. And let's go change the weight to the left leg. Change the weight to the right leg. So now I've got two closed quad, and yet still I can get full, empty, and then full, empty. And the zhong is there. The relaxed body is there. Right, so it's this subtle mechanism that we're training. Now, the weight in your left leg, right foot free, step it. Shift. So it puts those 4 exercises we just did together to do a thing, which is move sideways across the room. Weight here, step, change. Another saying in Tai Chi, the changing of the weight happens where? Underground. So feel that you're always grounded, always connected to the ground the whole time. It's just you're changing which leg is your plug. So now I'm plugged into my groundedness through this leg. Bringing this leg in, it's not plugged in, but then I change, so now this is the plug in the socket, and this one's free, all organized by the middle. Let's go that way. Now, change the plug. In, change the plug. Out, change. Now, how do I change? That's the hard part. Actually, it's the soft part. Being soft is difficult, especially when we're afraid, especially when we feel like, I could fall, right? So that's this challenge of Tai Chi. And it's also the challenge of it at its highest possible level of using it in and I won't say that's its highest possible level, but using it in physical conflict. That's not its highest level, but it's one of the toughest places to prove the concept, to be soft as a baby in the face of, let's say, someone or something trying to hurt you, and using that softness to overcome the threat. And so we're trying to use the softness to overcome the threat of moving awkwardly, not falling, how to stay loose so that we're not constricting and creating headaches and neck aches and back aches. Those are all threats. Those are internal threats. And then this athleticism that you can start to feel. And this transfer of full to empty back to full again, as you stay relaxed and do it, what is happening sort of as a byproduct is your middle pivot is becoming more enlivened, more cultivated. So you could say the middle is in the belly, low back sort of region. You can say that and be correct, but what the mind will want to do with that is say, oh, that's my middle. Okay, I'm going to go look for it. Okay, I'm going to grab onto it and then try to move from it. And that's just not how it works. It's only through relaxing and finding this seesaw, this activity that relies on the middle, that the middle starts to show itself and become something we go, oh, the middle, yeah, cool, awesome. I can move around and loose, and here's my middle, just kind of, you know, tap dancing and all that, right? But this middle has to be cultivated. It can't be grabbed and forced into action. Okay. Now come in between your chairs, and we're standing. Okay. Change your weight once again to this left leg, right leg empty. Now turn. So you can see this foot, this leg I turned externally, and then back to neutral, and then internally. Now, again, the way the body works, everything's connected and has a flow to it. So when you turn this leg out, allow for the body to turn a little bit, the pelvis to turn a little bit, the shoulders to turn, because that's the function of it is, I'm going to go this way. So when I turn this leg out, I'm also taking the whole arrangement and sort of orienting that way. But there's no weight, right? And then when I do it the other way, neutral, okay, leg turn in, pelvis, shoulders, head, let everything go with it, right? Let that, now you're aiming or looking or oriented that way a little bit. And then can we go from oriented here to oriented here? Unimpeded movement through the range, without force, without, as I use the word yanking, without yanking your body around, can you just float to orient this way. But again, make sure you're not changing body weight. Right? So boom, when I went here, I didn't put my weight in this leg yet. Turn, 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 turn. And switch legs. Change. Now we're here. Turn. Neutral. Turn. So the beauty is if you can find one leg doing all the stability work, then what you get is this free body. So, right, this is sort of a bagua, which is a sister martial art to Tai Chi. But you see what I'm doing now, I'm spiraling. I'm not asking you to do this, but I'm showing you how you add on top of a simple concept, this other exploration of the body, right? Of just, oh yeah, it can turn like that, it can twist. Now, empty your right leg again, turn out, shift into this right leg. Okay, bring your left foot next to your right foot, shift into your left foot again, and then we do it again. So now I'm turning the right foot out. You should now be looking away from me or away from the camera, right? Quarter turn again to your right, and then shift into that right foot. Square the body in the direction the toes are facing. And we do it again to the right. So we're going around in one direction. Turn the right foot out. Put the weight in it. Bring the rest of the body around. Empty the right foot. Remember, step without shifting, shift without stepping. Especially important because what happens a lot of times is people go like this, boom. And that's where falling can happen and it's awkward. It's this shift without stepping. So now I'm here, and then I'm stepping without shifting, and then I'm shifting without stepping, stepping without shifting, shift without step, step without shift, shift without step, step without shift. And of course, as you get better at it, you can kind of have them almost happen simultaneously of I've shifted and I'm turning. So then it starts to look like you're going fast, which you are, but you're not rushing. You're just going, okay, efficient, precise, right? Let's go the other way. Weight down through the right leg, turn left foot out, shift, come around, shift. Remember to relax those shoulders. Tight shoulders make you clumsy up top, right? Make you kind of have something that could spin out of control. But relaxed shoulders are empty. There's nothing there. So you're just turning in space. Just easy peasy. Interior real estate. Allows you pliability, movement. Now, instead of turning right leg out, do this one. Turn the toes in, the knee in, and the body a little towards this angle, and then shift into your right leg. Bring your left foot near it. Shift into your left leg again, and then the right foot again. You turn. So it's this pigeon toe. It's this closing movement, and then shift. Bring the foot to match. And then you shift into your leg again, and then this closing position, and then shift. The power of orienting. Orient yourself before you head off in a direction. Just like if you were in the woods trying to find your way, you'd first go, okay, where am I going? Let me orient, and then I can take off. This movement has a backwards quality to it, right? We're going pigeon toe, and then the movement is the energy of it coming back. And then we're going pigeon toe, and it's the energy of retreating. Let's use the other leg now. We're going pigeon toe, retreating back into that leg, bring the right foot to match it. Weight here, pigeon toe. And then shift and retreat. Shift, pigeon toe. Shift, retreat. Shift. And let's do one final challenge, putting that whole thing together. Watch me do it once. Turn out. Shift. Now, instead of bringing this left foot here, I go here, right? So I went from there to there. And then I go into the left leg and do that again, turning out as much as the hips should go or allow. Change the weight, and then go all the way, 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 boom. And now I'm oriented forward. So now let's say I had something coming at me from there. A lot of times what I see people doing to turn that way is right? That's not good. Versus 1, 2. And I'm there, right? And then again, if something I got to orient that way, I go, okay, just relax. And relax. There it is. Right? So try that a couple of times on your own. Just this turn out. And again, if you try to go fast, you are not helping. If you're yanking on your body and throwing it through the movement, you're not helping yourself really. If you're going, slow down to be able to find the efficiency. Efficiency is how you want to speed up. You want to be more efficient rather than try hard. You know, you don't want to try harder, which doesn't really get us where we're trying to get to. You want to relax and find, oh, there's my middle central pivot, and oh, that was easy. Oh, turn it out and shift and take your time to turn the foot, and then round you go. And we'll finish 2 times to the other side. Turn, shift. And remember, primary direction is still down. That's the good news. You don't have to think about turning or going sideways, or you just go, am I connected down? Connected down. And if you get the down right, it takes care of the up. If you lose the down, all hell breaks loose. Okay. Hands together. Rub. Back of one hand. Palm. Back of other hand. Palms. That quad space, especially early on, because we're using it a lot and it's tight, it needs some of this. It needs you to promote, relax, open space in there. So promote space, and then go to the hip flexors. That's another spot that's usually tight in the body. So we're promoting soft hip flexors. And then it's another area that gets jammed up, the tail, sort of buttock muscle here, the gluteus medius minimus, and then the lumbar, right? This is there's a lot going on here, right? And so we gotta attend to it. And then we just do a final little clearing like you're sitting in a squat. You just sweep down, come around, come up the inside, quad, hip flexors, tail, lumbar, sweep, sweep, one more, quad, hip flexors, sacrum, tail, lumbar, and sweep, sweep. And then we finish 1, 2. It's like a little chi reset. The legs and the arms, yang channels, yin channels, and then switch, yang, yin, yang, yin. The tank here. Soft, settle, consolidate. So notice Muna, this is you, this, yeah. Drop those elbows even more, drop your shoulders even more, yeah. And notice how there's a place where they hang, as opposed to where you had them where you were holding. And that's this promoting, it's the external mimicking what we want the internal to do. We don't want it here, stuck, right? We want all the way to here. And then we seal 1, 2. So this is center palm, belly button, and then center, center. And that just feels good. All right, thank you everybody. Have a wonderful rest of your day. If there are any final questions, feel free to unmute and share. Maybe even just as Gail isn't here today, but she coined the phrase Tai Chi moment. right? If you had a Tai Chi moment where you were in the, you know, she shared in the shower, washing her feet and remembering, oh yeah, stay down through one so I can wash my foot. So any Tai Chi moments, share them. People like to hear it. Anything? Great.
Thank you for the class, Otto.
Yeah. Yeah. Great job, Mike. Good seeing you.
Same.
Have a great week, everybody. And yeah, if there are any questions or issues, you just use email to reach out. All righty. Take care.
See you next week.
Yeah. And thanks for coming, Jane. Good to have you.